Last night didn't seem to be as cold as the other nights. I'm very worried about the farmers and these strong frosts that we're having. Last time we had really strong frost like this, I think was 1975. And at the time, Londrina was the number one coffee producing region in the world and was very prosperous. Then they had what they called the Black Frost, and it completely wiped out their coffee cultivation. And to this day, they never recovered it. So let's keep all the farmers in mind as they struggle to try and save their crops. It's kind of a strange time. In Pato Rinpoche's book, he talks about suffering on top of suffering. When you lose your job, and then your wife leaves you, and then you get sick, and then they kick you out of your house, and it just seems like things can't get worse, and then somebody runs over your dog. So it seems like as a group right now, the world is going through a phase of suffering on top of suffering. First was the economic crisis, and then came the pandemic, and then came the water crisis, and then the electrical crisis, and now the strong freezes, and then that's going to create more inflation. So we're in the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga means the degenerated eon. And it's not just completely all bad, though. The way Zonzer Chensi Rinpoche explained it is it's just very unstable. So things can be bad one moment, but then they can flip around and we can have some good years. It's just very unstable. So let's pray that this cycle is running its course and soon will be over, and we'll enter into the next cycle where things on the relative level improve. So speaking of the relative level, we're reading here about the two truths, and there were two paragraphs that we read last week that are just so important and so profound. I thought I would start again this morning repeating those two paragraphs. So the criteria that we use to understand absolute truth is something that is permanent. If something is permanent, we can understand it as absolutely true. If it is impermanent, we don't understand it as true because it will disappear and soon become a memory. Everything in our reality are only images in our mind, which we cling to as being true and significant because we're so involved and entangled with them. So our experience is simply a product of our fundamental confusion. If we didn't have this confusion in our minds, which arise from the five poisons, our perception of reality would be different. We wake up in a way that we can see the illusory quality in our relative reality. And to understand the absolute nature, that is the fundamental objective of Buddhism. Otherwise, we just continue to dream, and our dream can be good or bad, but it never remains the same. We're born, we get sick, we age, we die, and we never wake up from this confused dream. These two paragraphs are so crucial because really we can understand that as the key to our freedom. The key to our freedom is just simply seeing the way things are, just seeing the truth. If in fact the truth were other, or if we searched and searched and searched and we found out that everything is real and permanent, and therefore we should cling to them and try to find our happiness in them, we would be in a sad state. But because of the fact that simply seeing the truth, simply seeing the way things are, and deeply understanding that, we let go. And by letting go, we dissolve the causes of our suffering. Through that, we find freedom. How wonderful. There's hope. We can reduce our suffering and become more and more happy simply by seeing the way things are. It's so profound and so wonderful. There is order in that sense to the universe. But we're so accustomed to seeing things the other way. Rinpoche used to use the example of a paper that's been rolled up. When you roll a piece of paper in one direction over and over and over and over again, it tends to stay. Even when we try to flatten it out, it goes back. So in order to leave the paper in its flat, natural state, we need to roll it in the other direction the same amount of times as we rolled it in the wrong way, until finally it rests in its natural state. So because we've seen things in a confused way and only seen and clinged to the relative reality, we need to immerse our mind over and over again in the absolute truth, in the real truth of how things are. How? Contemplating the four thoughts, contemplating impermanence, karma, our precious birth, and suffering that permeates this experience of cyclic existence. Contemplating the teachings on dependent origination, the teachings on emptiness, the teachings on the middle way, on the Abhidharma, over and over again, immersing our mind in the truth. And because it's the truth, it's valid and it upholds. And slowly, the paper goes back to its natural state, and our mind effortlessly recognizes the absolute nature in the same appearances as the relative nature. The appearances don't change, the experiences don't change, but our perception changes. And because our perception changes, our relationship with the experiences changes, in the sense that we don't have hope and fear, we don't have clinging and aversion, and naturally our mind rests, and naturally our suffering reduces. When we talk about enlightenment, it's not fireworks and celestial orchestras. Enlightenment simply means eliminating the poisons of the mind. The poison of pride, the poison of ignorance, the poison of anger, the poison of clinging, the poison of clinging to the ego. When we eliminate the poisons of the mind, then naturally we see the way things are. That means enlightenment. We wake up. In a state completely awoken, that is enlightenment. The unwavering recognition of the absolute nature of all experiences and of our being. This absolute nature permeates everything and is not to be confused with nothingness or nihilism. But at the present moment, we've gone so far on a tangent, so far into the dualistic confusion of our mind, that we've lost perspective of what is the absolute truth. We have followed the tangent of relative truth. And we think, oh, absolute truth must be in some other place, in some other time. Seeing a separation where in fact there is none, we suffer with our experience of relative truth and our anxiety to find absolute, unchangeable, immortal truth. So, reiterating, the absolute truth and the relative truth is all a question of perspective. We're not going to find the absolute truth anywhere else but here. When we experience absolute truth, this reality here doesn't disappear. This reality continues, but our confusion stops. These manifestations continue, but our suffering ends. Simply by seeing the way things truly are. So amazing. So, because it's a process of getting used to, because over and over again, we need to immerse our mind into the absolute truth. And we have these wonderful techniques that were left to us by the Buddha, by Guru Rinpoche, and by our teachers. For that reason, we do the Tara practice, to once again touch the ultimate truth. What's the ultimate truth? Tara is the ultimate truth. Tara is the inseparability of form and emptiness. Apparent, but nothing that you can cling to. Her mantra is inseparability of sound and emptiness. Audible, but void of any kind of substance or permanence. And her mind is the enlightened mind of the inseparability of thoughts and emotions with emptiness. So Tara is the absolute truth. Tara shows us how forms, sounds, and thoughts have an absolute nature, how to connect to that absolute nature. So when we visualize Tara, we see her clearly with all of her details. But it's like a rainbow or a mirage or a dream. When we recite her mantra, we recite every syllable clearly, but it's like a bell ringing where there's the sound, but nothing you can hold on to, or an echo. And the thoughts are just like waves on an ocean. that appear to be separate from the ocean, but are nothing more than the expression of the ocean of emptiness.